Johnny sign so I can come up and go, it's morphin' time!
Awesome. I should have done that.
Hi, guys. All right, what is it like? I have a question for you. What is it like to know that you have personally made this weekend the most amazing experience of my life? No, really, what is it like? I wouldn't answer. Guys, I want to tell you something. We heard the stories. Last year I was supposed to be here, and I was already booked at another event. And so the organizer said, okay, well, let's plan on 2014. And I said, okay. And then like 3 days after last year's first inaugural event, I had several of the celebrity guests that are friends of mine call me and go, why weren't you in Salt Lake City? It was the best event ever. And so I have been literally counting the days until I was able to be here this year. And you guys, it has been everything they said and more. You are the best people. I'm moving here. I love it. I'm serious. I live in Los Angeles, and I lived in Houston, Texas for 20 years. And everyone says, and I always tell people, I'm not really an LA kind of a person at all. I'm a Texas. I like Texas. I like the feel of that state. And everybody all weekend has been saying, well, you know, Vic, Utah is very much like Texas. Okay, I'm sold. Have you been having a good weekend?
Average. You're the average.
What?
You want to use your battery free.
What did you say, honey? And now she's embarrassed.
Are we answering questions?
I think we should just go
few.
let's
How should we best do this? I guess we have to yell things out. Should we alternate choosing people?
yes, and ladies first.
Yeah, let's do that. Someone, you raise your hand. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is for Vic, and like for both of you, like how do you prepare for your act, like your voice acting? Like how do you do it? Like example, like from growing to like Ed, how do you prepare for that? Like mentally or like for your voice?
How do you prepare for different roles that are so different from one another? Yes, you go ahead. You go first.
Therapy. Rather take steroids before I record boldly. You know what? We don't have the privilege actually a lot of times to do much preparation. One of the things, one of the cool things about acting on stage or on camera is you get the script ahead of time and you rehearse.
Yeah,
you work with the other actors and you work out the best way to do something. And you spend weeks many times. How many of you guys have ever been in a stage play? Been in a play? You know how you prepare and you rehearse the show and then you perform it when you're all ready. Well, with anime and voicing animation, usually it's like, boom. You get in there, here's a script, go.
And oftentimes they say, oh, can you also do this character? So you don't even have time to think ahead about what it would sound like.
So it's as quick as, okay, this is what he looks like, and he's a librarian who loves to take pictures of girls. And he's about 45 years old, go. And so you go, Dad, are you looking for a book? And they go, no, that's too nerdy. Are you looking for a book? No, too creepy. You know what I mean? And so you zero in on what the director, or you kind of creatively decide, make a little group effort of figuring out what's best for the character, and all in the course of 2 minutes.
And I do think it helps when you really understand who the character is. You have to sometimes decide that in a second. But you figure out, different people live in different places. I know when I'm doing Ash, I'm a little lower on the mic. Amelia, let's say from Slayers, is much higher, and I'm taller, even though she's so short. But you have to kind of really be the character. And that's where all of your acting training really does come in, because it prepares you for how to prepare a character.
Yeah.
Next question.
You want to know where Broly lives? Hell. You know what? Can I tell you something funny? I just got an email about some more Dragon Ball Z. And as soon as I get those, I'm like, oh. Yes, my dear.
All right, stand up.
So your characters do a lot of yelling, like Edward Elric or Ash Ketchum. Have you ever hurt your voice or like suffered?
Have you ever heard your voice yelling?
Yes.
Yesterday.
Well, I do think, first of all, training does help to be able to place it in a way that saves you. But it is true that in a convention situation where there's so much noise, you end up speaking louder and not placing things correctly. When you're with the mic, I'm not exerting very much there. But here, if I were doing it without or standing across the table from you, I use my voice differently. So, yes and no is the...
Okay.
This is where we learned that Veronica is a professional and I am not.
That's not what I meant.
No, that's what I meant, because I don't know how to do that. I get into the booth and I scream bloody murder. I have heard people tell me, like professionals, tell me, oh, there's a way that you can position your voice so that it sounds like you're screaming. It sounds like your arm's being ripped from your body, but you're not really hurting your voice. I haven't found that place yet. I keep looking for it, and I can never find it. Every time I try to work it, it just doesn't sound as
real.
Blood-curdling.
Right. Well, there are some sacrifices you make for that real sound.
That is the answer. The answer is that's a sacrifice you make. You know what I mean? If you're going to play football, you put pads on, you try to prepare, but anything's possible when you get out on the field, right? One misstep and you twist an ankle. Or you just one wrong hit, you break a shoulder. I mean, anything's possible. And I've lost my voice more times than I care to admit. When I woke up this morning, I was like, oh my God, my voice is gone. What did I do yesterday? Because talking over the ambient level of noise out there all day long, instead of this beautiful girl walking up to me and saying, hi, and I say, hi, what's your name? And we talk like that, it's like, hi, what's your name? And suddenly you find yourself pushing all day long, and at the end of the day, it takes its toll. Your voice is like a muscle. It's like any other muscle. When you know how when you go and exercise, you lift weights, what do? You lift 10 or 12 reps and then you let it rest because it fatigues. Your voice is the same. If you just keep hitting it, it fatigues and it gets tired. So you have to know where your limits are. And Veronica knows hers better than I do.
Sometimes I work 9 in the morning till 10 at night, doing things, cartoons, audiobooks, all things. I don't have that much control over my schedule sometimes. And so I can't afford to overuse my voice. I have to really learn how to work it, because when you're doing an audiobook, you're playing all the characters. And so, you don't even get to take very many breaks because you're trying to work it really fast. So my schedule puts demands on my voice, so I have to figure out how to take care of it.
It's always a pleasure to play characters that are not hard on the voice. They're not, like, is anyone in here familiar with Tsubasa Chronicle? The character in Tsubasa, he's just very friendly all the time. And he talks like this, and I'm killing you right now. I'm lifting a car over my head. I mean, it doesn't matter what he's doing, he's always very calm. Fi was a character that you could voice all day long. But then, like with Ed, whenever you know those short rants are coming, you see them. They're just right there, looming. And so what we would always do is we would put them off until the end of the recording session. And we would put the fighting noises off to the end of the recording session. So you do all the talking, Ed and Alan talking to Colonel Mustang and whatever, and then you let it rip and do all the loud screaming, let it go, so you don't, so you've got the evening to rest, and it doesn't sacrifice the quality of the talking lines.
Yeah, the performance, exactly.
Exactly.
Because that's all that matters. Let's go for someone in the back. How can I? It's the gentleman right. Can you see me looking at? Yes, you. Yes.
Wait a minute, that was funny. Did you see that?
Yes.
You pointed to one guy, and then another guy just popped up.
No.
Is that you guys like whack-a-mole?
Yes. How long does it take to record an anime episode?
It varies.
That's it.
It's like with a fighting thing.
It varies.
Yeah. I mean, with a fighting show, It's very easy to record just like a lot of action and stuff, but if it's a dialogue-heavy kind of a show where you're working the performances and there's a lot of talking and interacting, and you want the nuances of the performances to be just right, you're going to spend more time on it.
And also, because in anime, for the most part, we record just one character at a time. So to use Pokemon as an example, in the very beginning when Ash had a lot of lines, it could take 6 hours for me alone to record my parts. So they would do one episode in maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks. Then as it got going and there were more characters, maybe I would go in for 2 hours on an episode. But it would take about a week and a half to do an episode all together and then mixing it. And so it varies, but because in that sense you're doing it all single people, it takes longer.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna get one from the back as well. Where was that girl that was dancing? There you are. Stay in the back.
So how did you start working in the anime business?
I love how she's choreographed her question. The anime business.
Which covers everything. How did we start working in the anime business? For myself, the very simple answer is I was recommended by an acting coach for something that I got cast in, and then I got another audition from that, and on it went. My longer story is that I started acting when I was 5, and I did I've always been an actor, and I went to college and grad school for acting. I've toured the country with Shakespeare, so my career started a long time ago, and it just happened that it kind of brought me into cartoons.
That's a great answer.
Thank you. Do you want to share my life? Is that true?
Yes.
When I was 5.
You know, most of the voice actors that have been doing it for a while, you'll find have very similar stories. And the story is somebody recommended them to try it.
Mm-hmm.
They were actors first. They'd been studying acting. They maybe even have college degrees in acting. They'd been touring, perhaps, performing. Community theater, summer stock, you name it, equity,
right.
whatever. And somebody encouraged them to audition for some voice role, and they did, and it just kind of went on from there. That is that's what I have found is the most common story. Most of the voice actors I work with, and I'm sure you as well, have a huge background in acting, first and foremost. I don't know if I can, I think I can speak for Veronica when I say we didn't set out to be voice actors. That was never even on the table. We just wanted to be actors.
Yeah.
We just wanted to act and create characters. And when somebody gave us a chance to do with our voices, we're like, hey, absolutely. I love acting. This is acting. It uses different tools. You know, it's a little different style, and you have to adapt to using your voice instead of just facial expressions or gestures or body language or costumes or makeup or all of the things that you have to visually communicate a character on stage, but it's still acting in its core. And so all of us have a lot of acting experience.
Yeah, that's what you need, because you have to pull it all together really quickly and
Very quickly.
Yeah, but also that's why people often say, I want to be an actor or whatever. The thing to do is really work in your craft, because that's how you meet people, that's how you network, and that's how you find people who can recommend you. Even my acting coach, because I was working on an audition, and he just happened to get a call that day from someone that he coached who needed recommendations. So it all comes from the weirdest things. You just never know who might be able to get you a job, in a sense. It's quite lucky.
Are there any Star Trek fans in here? Okay, do you want to know how much of a nerd I am?
Yes.
Veronica, would you pick up that little control box in front of you?
This one?
Yeah. You see that little dial? That is exactly the dial that's on the back of the phaser from the original series of Star Trek. That's what a nerd I am. I'm sitting here listening to Veronica talk, and I'm like, ooh, look. That's the dial from the phaser.
We're on Star Trek? Oh, welcome to the Enterprise.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Are we really on the Enterprise?
Yes,
This
we are.
is awesome.
Welcome to the
Salt Lake City gets better and
Enterprise.
better.
Yes.
Next question. I'm going to go all the way to the ash hat in the back. That was a cheap shot, wasn't it?
I
Okay.
Voice actor most inspires you, and why Robin Williams?
Which voice actor most inspires us, and why isn't it Robin Williams? Or is it Robin Williams? Well, do you want to answer that? Is it Robin?
I wouldn't consider Robin Williams a voice actor. He's just an amazing actor.
Amazing actor.
Which kind of goes back to what we just said.
Yeah.
Actors, not voice. You know what I mean? It's not just a voice. He's been amazing in anything he's ever done. And voice acting is certainly part of that.
Yeah,
I think the best voice actors are good actors.
Yeah.
If you get to see them on stage or on screen, you're like, wow, they're actors. Yeah. And that's it. They're actors.
Yeah, I'm a lover of cartoons also, so I watched a lot of cartoons growing up but never really researched who was behind the voice. Also, now with the interweb, you can really right away look up something, and I do that all the time now, but I didn't before because in my set of encyclopedias, it didn't have that information.
Britannica?
Yes, Junior. And we still have encyclopedias in my house now.
Good for
I know
you.
none of you do, but books are so cool. So I actually was influenced by many people without knowing who they were, and only more recently have I started to find out that June Foray, that she played a million characters I loved, or Mel Blanc played everything, and I didn't know that before. So there's many people that I really have admired, but didn't know their names until recently-ish.
And that's the cool part of living in the time that we live in. You know, I've had several of the on-camera actors downstairs say to me, I'm curious, how do these people even know who you are? You're a voice actor, and then how do they even recognize you? I'm like, well, you know, internet.
Internet knows everything.
Is it my
Your
turn?
choice.
My choice. I will choose my darling daughter, Maka! Maka, your dad loves you.
I'm in this year's Union High School Shrek the Musical play, and
Oh,
I
congratulations. What's the musical?
Want, Shrek the Musical.
Shrek the musical! Oh.
You're only hearing what you want to hear.
I'm sure it's good too.
So Union High School's musical, Shrek the
Shrek
Musical.
the musical, how awesome.
I was wondering if you, what tips would you have? I mean, I'm like really nervous, and so.
About going on stage?
Yeah.
What tips might we have about beating the nerves and all that before going on stage?
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. So I always get very nervous before a show. Even when I was on tour for, let's say, 9 months, I still always get that bit of nerves before going on. I get more nervous before I speak publicly. This makes me really nervous to speak my own words. But one thing I found, I would go over the whole script sometimes with my warm-up, where you keep your teeth together, and it really warms up everything so that when you speak, it's much more clear. So sometimes when I was really nervous, I'd go over all my lines like this. And then secondly, I would stand backstage and try to take a deep breath, and then you let the character come in, and then you just go on stage. But you have to accept those nerves. I mean, anyone, you have a job interview, you're going on a date, you have your first day of school, all of that stuff has nerves, and that's one thing that shows us we are alive. And secondly, you gotta get it under control and use it, because everybody's nervous. Even the audience is excited, waiting for you, so you can kind of ride on that. And good luck. Break a leg.
I have something to say about this. I used to think to myself, what makes me so nervous when I go out on stage? Why am I nervous? Why am I nervous? And maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but the thought that comes in your mind is, what if I screw up? What if I forget my lines in front of these people and they laugh at me, or they kind of giggle, or they're whispering, and I mess up? This little word changed my life. You ready for this? I want you to remember this. The audience is on your side. They want you to succeed. They're cheering you on. You don't have to be afraid that they're gonna, you know what I mean? They're not like secretly sitting there waiting for you to mess up. They're happy that you're up there, and they're excited for you, and they're on your side. So you don't have to be afraid of them. And the other thing I would say is make sure that you know your lines backwards and forwards and inside and out, so that when your brain goes flying off into a million directions, your mouth is still saying the words. I'm not wrong about
but
it.
that's the whole thing. Preparation really does. An athlete who is running a marathon runs and runs and runs. So when the race comes, they're running and their body is ready for it. The same thing as an actor. You prepare and prepare, and then you just take off. So it's very true.
Yeah, I used to record all of my lines and on a cassette recorder, and then I would listen to them. Or I'd play them in my car or something, and just get them in your mind, get them, and you know what else is a good thing about that? Learn everybody else's lines too. This is really important, you guys, because you know what? If you only know your line, and the guy before you doesn't say his line right, you're stuck, right? Because you were expecting him to say at midnight, and he said tonight, and you didn't hear your cue word, and suddenly you don't remember what you're, see what I'm saying? So learn everything about the show, and then it makes it easier to improvise too. It makes it easier if somebody messes up, you can totally take over. The production doesn't come to a grinding halt because one guy didn't say exactly the words that he was supposed to say. If you can get the ideas of it down, then you'll be much more confident and comfortable. And just make sure that you know your lines. And like I said, when you walk out there, just feel like, hey, they're on my team. The audience is on my side, and they're behind you 100%. Now, what are you playing? What role are you playing?
I'm a Duwakian.
Oh,
Duwakian.
have fun. Enjoy it, okay?
And the grayish t-shirt on the end, yeah? What's the most embarrassing what experience?
Like getting into the sound booth or like the recording area, and then just screw up or something happens and just you make you embarrassed.
The most embarrassing experience recording. Go ahead.
Sadly, I have one. It didn't take long. I've told this before, so if you've seen it on the internet, I apologize, but it is one of the most embarrassing things for me. We were recording Full Metal Alchemist, and there were a lot of those moments where Ed was very solemn and very emotional, you know, like he was in a situation, and he would get very tender. And it was a scene that I really wanted to do really well. And it was one of those scenes, and so I was getting myself in the mood, and I was looking at the line, and I was getting all emotional. And the director said, "Are you ready to try one?" And I said, "Okay." And I did this line with every ounce of every bit of emotion I could. And I allowed my voice to break in all the right places. And I held back the tears, and I tried my very best to push through the line. And then I finished. There was silence. And the director came on the microphone and said, "That was amazing. But that wasn't your line." Accidentally skipped a line, and it was somebody else's line. And embarrassing.
That's really funny, but you can play it all. That just proves it. Well, maybe I should have been cast in that. Oh my gosh. I think my only most embarrassing thing, because everything is embarrassing. I mean, you know, I have to do all the actions when the character is angry. I've got an angry face when there's that. You know, it's all embarrassing. But I just don't care because I'm the character. I think one time, I suppose it's embarrassing that I was in His and Her Circumstances playing Yukino, and she had all these crazy screaming things with the background twirling around, and there was this long yelling out as she was kind of falling, and I made the mistake of doing it all on one breath, and at the end of it, I fainted. So the worst part is that there's the boom, you know. So I'm here, so you know, they can see me talking like this, so I'm screaming, and then... I just got up and they're like, where did you go?
You should have been in Dragon Ball Z.
I would have spent more time passed out. So much for professional.
Yeah,
I gave my all.
no. She did. That's the mark of a professional.
So sad.
If you don't pass out in the movie, you're not a professional. You know, one time, did you say something about His and Her Circumstance? I was in a stage play once, and it was a resurrection play. And I was playing Peter, the disciple Peter. And I had a beard glued on. It was a musical. And so I was singing Peter's song. I'm out in front, there's all the disciples behind me, and I'm singing Peter's song, and I'm getting into it, and I'm standing up, the Lord is alive, you know, and I'm all in it. And all of a sudden, my beard starts going through. Half of it's still glued, and the other half is hanging like this. And the audiences are trying, I mean, remember, they're on your side, and they're like supporting me, and finally I could kind of feel what was happening. I'm like, screw it. Ripped it off completely and threw it aside and finished the song.
Great idea.
Where in the scripture did Peter pull his beard off? I can't find that passage.
Did he necessarily have a beard?
Acts 4, verses 9 to 15. Look it up. It's in there. I wrote it in the margin. It's in there.
You with the wrench.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm issuing a challenge for you guys.
A challenge.
I want to see if you can do all of your characters' voices in less than a minute.
I cannot.
Now,
You know what? I can't do all of my character voices in less than a minute. I could do a couple, but I don't know all of them offhand. It's not very, I don't think I could do it. Are you up for that?
How
many characters can you do?
I'm not, but for a couple of different reasons. I could do a few, but I mean, again, my voice is really shot right now. I don't even feel like I sound like myself.
Well, that's part of the problem too, and everyone's videoing, and it doesn't sound like necessarily I would love to be able to do it, but sometimes you know, like I do one character that I did 12 years ago, and the thing goes through the whole movie, let's say, but I was in the booth for 2 hours, so it's hard for me to go, oh yeah, that character was specifically this. If I heard it, I could do it. I could accurately do it, but I think it would be a letdown if I tried to do that. And that's why I say I don't think I can do it. Well, I'm doing this one right now. My normal one is one no one ever hears because I'm constantly changing it around.
Yeah, a lot of the characters that we play, especially if they're longer, like if they're like lead characters, you don't. It's not too weird a voice. It's very similar to your own voice because it's more about acting than it is about making funny voices. You know, Tamaki is. Tamaki is very much like Zero from Vampire Night. But the main difference is Zero is a little lower. Tamaki is more attitude, right? Tamaki is more flamboyant. Whereas Zero is a little more angsty. So you could probably take a line from 10 different characters that we played and stick them all together and listen to them and go, oh, that's the same person. Well, sure it is, But if you were to watch each of those shows, you'd be like, oh, the characters are completely different. So that's really the goal. You know, and Ed is kind of, he's like my voice. When I get excited, my voice raises up a little bit. I get more excited. So Ed is just a little younger. So you put a little more rasp into the voice a little bit with your Ed, you know, and you push it up a little higher. That's it. Oh, speaking of.
We're just doing Q&A.
Yeah, awesome.
And we've already done all of our characters, so you're supposed to do all of your characters. No, we didn't do it. Oh, great.
Wanted to do that, right? Oh,
That's weird. Sorry.
dear.
I'm the time.
It's better than being in the room.
Today we're playing room 355D.
Here, I have a Sharpie.
That's fine. I'm Johnny on Bosch.
At least no one knows how to spell it.
My writing's so terrible.
No judgments here. No judgments. This is going to take a long time. Let's take a question. Okay?
Let's see. Where was the last one? It was there. So let's. Well, you know what? I was gonna pick Ed, and then I'm like, no, people will kill me for picking Ed. They're thinking I'm playing favorites. Go ahead. Yes.
My question is, when you guys voice animate, do you ever take any acting cues from the original Japanese?
Oh, sure.
Do we take any acting cues from the original Japanese in anime?
Sure. The
Beats sound
performances.
different though.
What? What?
We make it sound a little different. Sometimes.
Beep boo, beep boo, beep boo. You know what? We take our performances come from several different sources. Sometimes it will be there will be elements of the Japanese if we like what they did, or if we feel like it's the right feeling for the moment. But you know what? Culturally, sometimes there are differences. You know, where we would go, oh, they might have gone, sugoi! So, because culturally, it wouldn't work to do exactly what they did. So sometimes we take a cue from them, and then sometimes it will be our own ideas, and then sometimes it will be what the director wants us to do. So it's kind of a mix of those.
Yeah. Now, this is the bummer, but it's 38, and we have to be finished by 50. So I think, yeah, we're supposed to only go till 50. I think it's, but I do think
Sorry
because
for
of,
being late.
that's okay, but because of that, I think maybe we should like try to take more questions and we'll give shorter answers and kind of go, and then that way we can get in a lot of.
Absolutely. Johnny, what do you think?
Okay.
Pick me, Johnny.
So you picked the right person.
That you guys have voice.
What's our favorite anime to have voiced? Here we go.
It's like choosing our children.
I choose you. Yeah, I love being on Pokemon, that's for sure. I played it for 8 years. I've never had a job that long, so I'm going to say that one.
It's hard. Trigon would be.
I'm going to blend my two favorites, and I'm going to call it the Full Metal Host Club. Okay, question. Veronica, pick something.
Oh, good. Yes.
What do you guys do in your free time?
What do we do in our free time?
What's that?
Yeah.
Meet you guys on the weekend?
There's not a lot of free time, but, we try to do something. I don't know, watch TV?
What do you watch?
Doctor Who? Yeah, it's Pokeballs, I Dream of Genie bottles, all bigger on the inside. And unfortunately, my apartment is You go, you just pick some. We're going down the
Yeah,
line.
you gotta catch up.
For those that work in the voice acting for video games, do you end up playing the video games that you're voicing in, and do you think it's weird?
If we act in a video game, do we watch it and play it?
Sometimes, but I'm terrible at games.
I have a DS. I've played Pokemon Red and Professor Layton. That's about it.
I have never played a video game that I voiced in. I don't even know why, I just haven't. But I get a kick out of people coming and telling me, you know, your character sucked. I played your guy and I got killed. You suck. Yeah, I enjoy hearing about the games. The first game I ever did was like not a good game. I thought it was gonna be great. It was called Unlimited Saga. And like we all did it, we did it down in Houston. And we were all so excited about it, 3D characters and everything. This was like 10 or 12 years ago. And it turned out to be like just kind of lame, like a lame game. Because when you voice, you have no idea.
No, you don't. You only see your own
Like
line.
9 months later, the game comes out, and you had no idea like how what you did was going to fit into it. What was the story of the game? How was it going to play? And people, and you don't know anything when you voice it. And so it came out, and like it wasn't very well received. So all of the voice actors just referred to it as Unlimited Suck. That's what we call the game, because apparently it wasn't a good game.
Oh dear.
Yes, sir. On the aisle right here.
How do you guys differentiate the Japanese dialogue in English that sometimes the mouse doesn't always match?
How do you differentiate the Japanese dialogue from the English? Do you mean like how is the script adapted
Like
to?
you'll say a line and it's the same thing in Japanese, but a little bit different, but it kind of goes in the same direction.
Well,
Writers are usually in charge of that sort of thing, and then a director as well. But then on the fly, we kind of adjust.
right.
Because it's like they pause a lot more than we do when we talk.
You have to really adapt. And I did Cubics, and that was Korean, and they have a sound. Korean language has a sound at the end with an open mouth. So many of the lines had to be adapted to make that realistic for English language.
You know, even anime, when they record it in Japan, they usually record it almost ahead of, like, with storyboards. They don't even record it with the finished animation, and they still don't match the flaps. Because that's not really that hugely important to them. But in our culture, and to our eyes, we expect the sound to sync with the mouth movements. So we work really, really hard to make that happen. Like to honor the little pauses and like if the line ends with a big open mouth and our line ends with like an E or a home. You know what I mean? Something that doesn't match it, we would rework the lines in the studio. And also when the writers write a line, the writers often don't speak with the same tempo that we do. So like if this girl right here were to be the script writer and she adapts the line, and she does the line in her house and it worked fine when she did it, but then Johnny comes in and Johnny speaks quicker than she does. Suddenly the line doesn't fit. And Johnny has to add something to the line to make it work. So,
Is
5
it me?
minutes.
Yeah, white glove, blue hair. Yes.
Do you
7
watch? Do you watch the animation while you're recording?
Do you watch the animation while you're recording?
In some cases. And a lot of anime.
Yeah, if you're dubbing.
Yeah,
Yes, you have
Dubbing,
to.
yeah.
to be able
Video
to
games,
match
not
it.
so much.
Right.
No.
Right. In fact, you know, voice acting for anime is in many ways, and most people agree, is in many ways one of the hardest kinds of voice acting.
It's like
Because you
being
don't have the freedom to just perform the line however you want. You have to make the line believable, and at the same time match a very strict confine in rhythm and tempo. And so it's a lot harder than people think. Some people can do one really good, and some people can do the other really good. But to do them both is a little tricky.
You gotta think some way staff. Yeah.
Circle staff.
By the power of Grayskull.
For all 6 of you. This one is made of love and peace! Right there.
I actually have a similar one. Can you do something in Ikaku's voice?
I'm feeling pretty lucky today. Hey, Ichigo. Eat my bankai!
Which 6 Pokemon would we choose?
6?
6.
Can I just pick one? I choose you.
Let's say Charizard, because we can fly out of here back to our booths.
Oh, I'm picking Keldeo.
I think we're dry. No, I guess the answer is no. You with the blondish hair thing.
So which do you like voicing better? Which do you like voicing better, the bad guys or the good guys?
Who do we like to voice better, bad guys or good guys? Well,
Kind of depends on the role, really, and the story, the character.
Bad guys, if they're written well, are often fun because number one, we're not bad guys in real life, so it's a little more acting. You know what I mean? You get to play something that's a little more not you. But it really depends on how it's written and what the story is. I mean, there are a lot of great hero characters, but bad guys often have a more compelling kind of a backstory, why they ended up
what
bad.
drives them? Yeah. I agree.
Yes. One Piece.
Final Fantasy 13.
Who's that One Piece?
Have you read the manga to research your roles?
Have we read the manga to research our roles? No.
No.
Well, not to mention the fact that you guys know better than anybody that the manga is often not like the anime at all.
Right.
So you actually kind of mess yourself up. By reading the manga, you'll mess yourself up. Because a lot of times the characters are even different.
And also, because also, the other thing is there's a lot of jobs, like for myself, I'm working on a lot of different things, so I don't have time to do more research on this because I'm working on this, and then I go to the session after that, and I have to take what they tell me and work from there. So I don't have a lot of extra time for that. And doing audiobooks, you're reading the whole book to prep it before, so I don't have a lot of extra time for that. Yes, I do.
They're hard.
They're very hard. But anyway, next question. It's really hard work.
What advice would you have for someone who wants to become a voice actor?
What advice would you
Change your name to Young Bosch. Like, what's your
It could
name?
be Connie.
What's your name? Trevin? Trevin, from now you're Trevin Young Bosch, all right? That's your name.
What advice do we have for voice actors? What's the shortest thing?
Get the acting then.
Train.
Acting.
Yes, you with the scarf. Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Yes.
What's it like to meet the voice actors you're in the show with later on? Because I know you guys don't record together.
What's it like to meet the voice actors who are in our shows later on?
You know what? It's wonderful. And what's fun is you feel like you know the people. You listen to their voices in your head for weeks and weeks and weeks, and you feel like you know them, and you've never met them.
Yeah.
So it's really, really fun to finally meet them in person and to become friends. Because conceivably, you could do an entire show and never meet some of the people that are in the show. The woman that played Trisha Elric, the woman that played Edward Elric's mother, I've never met her. To this day, I've never met her because she wasn't in the show a lot. So she'd come into the studio and leave and be gone. She'd do the whole series in like 3 hours, you know? And then I never had an occasion to meet her. She doesn't do conventions, so, you know?
I'm doing some shows that are done in New York and LA and Boston, and there's some people I never meet. We're not in the studio, we're not in the same studio even. So it is pretty wild, especially to get like a text or something from them, like, do I know you? Oh, I know, we're in the show together. It is really exciting. And for everyone to be working so hard on something and not be with each other is really quite remarkable.
And sometimes it gets you in trouble. When we started Full Metal Alchemist, I felt like I knew little Aaron Dismuke, my little 12-year-old brother. And I knew his voice, and somebody told me he was going to be at ACON, and I was at ACON, and so they pointed him out to me from a distance. And so from like 20 feet away, I see this little boy walking with his mom, and she was pushing a stroller with Aaron's little brother, and I was like, brother! And I went running up to this little kid and grabbed him and hugged him. And I mean, his mother was like, security! Ah! Stranger danger! And I mean, like, he didn't even know who I was. Until I stopped him, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm Vic, I'm your brother, you know?
Two more quick questions. Oh, okay, 2 questions. Quick. You choose.
Okay,
You're really good.
right here. Or the
Question.
If you weren't doing voice acting, what job would you have?
If we weren't doing voice acting, what job would we have?
ending the panel because we're getting this sun.
Yeah, can we answer this question? Yes, okay.
Okay.
What else would you want to be when you grew up?
When I grow up, I want to be a musician. I got a band.
I'm doing everything that I would do anyway, whether I were paid to do it or not. I write and produce music professionally. A lot of you guys know about my music work as well. And I do it, and I
It's embarrassing.
I'm changing my name to Vic Mignogna. Bosch. I want to be like Johnny. And produce and work on a web series, Star Trek Continues. You guys go home and check it out. And you know what? Since they're giving us the cut sign, the last thing I want to say, and I think I speak for all of us, come to our tables and say hello. We're here to meet you. We didn't come here just to drive around Salt Lake City. We came to meet you guys. So come to our tables and say hi, right?
I will be giving away CDs at my table. So I'll see you guys
And if everyone could exit out this door down here, that would be great.